This is Saxon Advanced Math Lesson 96.b. This is triangle area formula. Now, we already know how to find the area of a triangle, right? We've been doing this since like 6th or 7th grade, right? Area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So why do we need another formula? Well, this allows us to skip some steps when we don't have all the information. Now, we could have solved this before, but and they have given us problems like this before, but never a formula that just does it all for you. So if I look at it, if I have this triangle A, B, C, and I look at it, I know the area is 1/2 base times height, right? So I would say 1/2 of this base times the height, but I don't have the height. So, if the height is unknown, it's not even labeled here. Well, if I wanted to find the height and I wanted to use A, I could say A, right? Well, what is the height in correspondence to A? Well, that's the sine. So I'd say sine of that, right? Sine of A equals H over C. That's my hypotenuse. And that would then derive down to getting H by itself by multiplying both sides by C. And I get C times the sine of A equals H. If I did that and then plug this back in, we'll say, well, that's what H is, and 1/2 base times height. I can say 1/2 base times C sine A. Now, that leads us to a new triangle area formula, which says the area of any triangle equals half the product of any two sides and the angle and the sine of the angle between them. I'm sorry, that should say sine of the angle between them. When I do this, I'm going to look at that and realize that, okay, well, the sine of the angle between them, therefore this has to be the A. And if I want to do that with B, C or B, I could as well. Now, the book doesn't have an example on that, and I'm going to go ahead and pull one of the problems out of today's lesson, and that's number 8. So this is 96, number 8, and I just redrew this. And my triangle isn't perfect, but you'll get the idea here. I've got A and little a, right? Cap C and little c, and cap B and little b. And I have 12, 10, and 70. They say solve the triangle for angle A and find its area. If I want to solve for angle A, so I need to find A first of all. Well, I'm going to use law of sines, right? There's my 12 and 70. So 12 is the sine of 70, as 10 is the sine of A. I cross multiply and divide. I get sine of A equals 10 sine 70 over 12. And hit second sine of this here, and I get 51.54 degrees. That's wonderful. That's what A is. That's going to allow me to find B, right? Because if I know 70 and I know 51.54, I can subtract those from 180 and get 58.46, and that's what angle B is. Now, using our new formula right here, like this, right, I can say 1/2 of C times A. C and A were the only known values, and the sine of B. Well, there's my sine of B. So I'm going to plug in my 58.46 in for B. My C is 12, my A is 10, and I get 1/2 of this, and this equals the area is 51.14 centimeters. This is pretty simple to do, and if you forget, you can always rederive this formula by just saying, hey, I need to find a height. I'm going to use the sine. I know the two sides. It's not that big of a deal. But this allows you to come up with a formula that works every single time, and it looks like this here.